on, have some closing remarks and a prayer. So, my little piece is that when I was 14, 15, Dad gave us a book that was called Do Hard Things.
Yes.
Something that was a lesson I think I've respected and gotten a lot out of as I've grown into an adult. And the more I think and reflect on it, relationships and marriage explicitly is a very hard thing.
Oh yeah.
Even in the stories they were telling and the laughter and the joy that they had, we know that it is not an easy process or an easy thing to maintain. And because of that, I have a lot of respect for them, not just in the way that they raised me, but in the way that they took care of each other and stayed together despite those hardships. When it comes to things being hard, marriage explicitly is a sacrifice. And it's a sacrifice not only because you're in a relationship and you're committed to this other imperfect human being, working on the things that they have had in their past, their childhood, their upbringing, their lives and experiences, but then your own, and having to come to terms with that, be vulnerable to someone else, be accountable to someone else, and really come out and be explicit about your intentions and your discipline on working on that, but then do the work to help that other person in their journey when it's coming together with God to be a better human being, when it's coming together with their community, and in the relationships that already exist in that person's life. And it's a lot of pressure. Fortunately for me, I grew up in a digital age, but I've been very low-key in the relationships that I've had in my life. When you're married to someone that is a beacon out not only to you and your friends, but them and their friends, their families, the communities that you exist in, to have a certain image of how you maintain yourself, about how you treat each other. And that is not a given. It's not an easy thing to keep up. Because we all know that in our families, in our love lives, in our personal relationships, even in with our siblings and others, we have fights and things that make those difficult. And the pressure to show that this is something important and invested in, not just to each other, but to the people that we are representing and the people that we are supporting and the people who are invested in that relationship is very, very difficult. And again, this is another aspect where to maintain this for 30 years and to not just do the work, but to also show and inspire others in how we maintain and treat each other is so important and so valuable. And I want to thank my parents for that. And then the last thing about marriage being hard is the dedication to that work. Because despite the pressure, despite the sacrifice required to stay together and all the hard things that you have to overcome, you really have to make an effort. One of the things that my dad talked to me about is that love is a choice, right? I think we all grew up, to some aspect with stories, the Disneyification of relationships. You meet your prince or your princess and you really are enamored by them and you get into this infatuation stage, and that's the most important thing, and that will sustain a lifetime of togetherness. And that's not true. Not in the slightest. Love is a choice. You have to decide to wake up every day with someone, despite the vulnerabilities you're dealing with, despite their flaws, despite the things that make it hard sometimes for you to want to care and be invested in this, and do it anyway. And I cannot speak highly enough of my respect and my admiration for my parents in their choice day after day after day, not just to choose to make the relationship work, but to ask for help, which is so hard for so many of us, to ask for help when they could not do it themselves. I don't think that I could be the person I am, and I don't think that many of us would be the person that we are, invested in, our relationship to them, had they not, when it was difficult, exposed themselves to us and asked for the assistance to make sure that we could invest in them and really invest in ourselves to be a higher ideal and to meet a higher ideal and be a better version of ourselves, right? Because we create marriages because we know that having someone you're invested in, having a partner that's consistent with you through your life adds so much value. Not just to you, but to having offspring, to the church communities that you're a part of, to your relationships and your friendships and your neighborhoods and your communities. It means so much. And to continually do that work day in and day out and to expose yourself and be vulnerable is not an easy task. And again, I applaud you so much for that. And I do really, again, I want to be brief with these notes on my tribute, but I do really want to talk about how that discipline and that dedication, that sacrifice is inspiring. I have been in less than a handful of relationships, and to see you guys in your toughest moments work through it and make it work, good times and bad, vacations and volition, really stay true to what you have promised yourself to God, to your friends, to us, means so much. And it is inspiring to say that if you can do that, then what isn't possible for me and the relationships that I build. They give me a lot of credit sometimes for being available to pick up the phone and talk them through situations where they feel like they're stuck. And it helps that, I spend a little time studying psychology and understanding some of the language and the research on what makes relationships a little easier and where people tend to deal with these hardships. But I couldn't do that if they hadn't read the books or had the family or come together explicitly in the couples ministry and so many other places to challenge themselves and train themselves when it comes to their commitment to each other. And I cannot state enough how grateful I am, how many people in this room are so grateful for what you've done in displaying what a marriage can look like and what it can mean for so many people. So thank you, thank you, thank you.